Have you ever been in a room where when someone walks in, you immediately feel their presence while others walk in the room and they're nearly invisible? What makes these two people so different? Is it their net worth? Is it their body fat percentage? Is it their outfit? Or is it something that's so insignificant that we neglect to work on this thing daily? Today, I got a person here with me. She's a good friend of mine. Her name is Amber. And I really want to talk about how changing your posture can completely change your life. So Amber is an entrepreneur. She's one of the owners here in Las Vegas of Egoscue Clinic. And she's an expert in posture. And she's also voted 5 times nicest ladies I've ever met in my life. So
Thank
welcome,
you.
Amber. I'm pumped that you're here, and let's get after it.
Thank
ready?
you. I'm honored and grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, you ready to go deep end really fast? That was like, I want to go right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I feel like there is a origin story for every hero. In this case, it's a coach, right? Every coach has their own origin story. And your vehicle is very different from my vehicle. My vehicle is torturing people and getting them to sweat really hard, breathe really fast, and then they get into a position where they're healthier. But your vehicle is posture, and it's massive, by the way, because I use a lot of the things that you've taught me in everything that I teach. So
Awesome.
So I'm really excited to kind of go over this. But what made you kind of dive into that? I feel like every coach has an origin story, and I'd love to kind of know why you got into this to this field.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so I actually started out torturing people
Oh, you
similar
did?
to you.
Okay.
Yes. So I have a personal training background.
Okay.
And so I did that for many, many years.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I noticed so much as a personal trainer is like poor quality movement in people.
Mhm.
And so, a lot of my clients, they would be working all day and then come to work out with me. And I would like, hip hinge and a deadlift, like that's
Yeah.
not happening,
Yeah.
right? Shoulders moving overhead, absolutely not.
Right.
And so all I knew at the time was stretching. I had no
Yeah.
idea about posture.
Mhm.
And so I ended up just, long story short, I got to a place where I knew in my heart I wanted something different. I
Mhm.
wanted something else. And so I started asking for it, right?
Yeah.
I started to pray. I started to be intentional.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment, it was shortly in that period that I found Egoscue.
Mhm.
And so I had pain issues of my own. I
Okay.
had sciatic issues. It seemed like I injured my left shoulder like every other week.
Yeah.
And so when I learned about the method, I
Mhm.
knew it was going to change my life. I knew that I was going to be changed in the best way. And
Mhm.
so I ended up just diving deep into it, became a therapist in Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
and knew I wanted to own a business. So I brought Egoscue out to Las Vegas, and I've been here for almost 6 years now.
You just like glossed over the pain real quick, but I love the story.
Yeah.
I feel like every origin story, there's
Yeah.
this like this pain component, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of listeners here that are going through pain right now, and they can't just grasp how opportunistic it actually is. So when you were dealing with a lot of those sciatic nerves, was it just like a day? Was it like was it months? Like run me through what that
Yeah.
pain is, because I want to know
It
what
was
that's
on
like.
and off. Like
Yeah.
I would experience it just intermittently on and off. But one of
Yeah.
the things that, and I was getting by, so I'll talk about this because
Yeah.
I was managing my pain. When I had sciatica, I was just stretching the symptom, but I wasn't actually
Yeah.
treating the cause. I
Yeah.
was icing my shoulder and taking a rest, but I wasn't
Mhm.
actually treating the reason why it was bothering me in the first place.
Mhm.
Why did I keep getting injured? And so I ended up, when I learned about Egoscue and understood that pain isn't a problem to be solved, but it's a message to understand,
Yes.
right? And so that's why I knew when I learned about Egoscue, the second it made so much sense to me, I was like, I knew that I was going to be I was going to not only be able to help myself, but be able to help so many other people who deal with it. And now my my passion is to really help people not
Mhm.
live in limitation, but
Mhm.
harness their pain as a source of strength and purpose,
So
right? Not
good.
just getting by with managing symptoms,
Yeah.
right? Because we can brace our knees and our backs, and we can take pills, and we can get surgeries. We can, take give up things that we love even.
Yeah.
But the end of the day, that's living in your comfort
Yeah.
versus living in your true purpose in this life, right? And we can't
Yeah.
live in limitation.
That's so good. I feel like how you've managed your pain was like the possibly the best and wrong way. With the way
Yeah.
you told me that I like the whole icing thing was new to me. For that was like PT 101. Yeah, you just ice your inflammation.
Right. Yeah.
But it was counterintuitive as we started to dive into the science.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's great in terms of relieving pain, but what are your thoughts on it, treating it and healing it when cuz I feel like there's a bunch of people still that are icing pain. And I'm like, "Oh, man, that's just like a small part of this." What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's nothing wrong with icing
Mhm.
because in the moment, if you're hurting and you need to use that to feel a little bit better,
Yeah.
reduce some of the inflammation in the moment, okay,
Yeah.
it's okay to use, but just know that it's not fixing the issue. It's not actually treating the source.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing like if you're going to a chiropractor regularly. That's
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
but that is something external, right?
Right.
Doing the work to help
Mhm.
fix you, right, per
Yeah.
se, but it's not actually you doing the work to change the reason why your back is flaring up consistently, right? Or
Mhm.
your knee is flaring up consistently. So
Yeah.
use it as a way to just know that it's not like it's
Yeah.
not fixing anything.
Have you seen in your path of learning this? I feel like once you start going into the practice itself, you start to see everyone else that's doing something wrong. And it's so, for me, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it's heartbreaking. And that's the path for me. I was like, oh, I need to like shake this person.
Yeah.
They can do something so different. They could do so
Yes.
much more. What was that process like? So now you're practicing, you're treating
Yeah.
your back, you're no longer managing the symptoms, and you're
Right.
going through this practice. What's it like seeing others essentially just jump off the bridge every single time?
Well, it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's a difference between somebody who literally just doesn't they don't know
Mm-hmm.
that they can do anything about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was just in Mexico for a vacation and we were at this like timeshare resort in Mexico and I'm observant so I watch people and how they move
Mm-hmm.
and there are people who stay at this resort for months, weeks, right? They're there
Mm-hmm.
and they're puttering around. They are shuffling to the pool. They can I mean, there was a guy who his
Yeah.
shoulder didn't move at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just observing this and I'm thinking, I'm like, if they could change, which they could,
Yeah.
right? They could change the way that they move, the quality of their movement. They could
Mm-hmm.
extend their traveling years by
Mm-hmm.
decade or more, right?
Yeah.
They could you have so much more energy and change just the quality of their vacation,
Yeah.
right? And so it's just you don't have to accept it as just like, okay, well, this is a part of getting older.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
I
right?
know
That's a
that's
myth.
yeah. That
And
is a
so
huge myth.
it
Yeah.
does, but a part of the reason it's like I have a message to share, right? I need to let people know
Mm-hmm.
that they aren't stuck that way, that they don't have to live that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so while it pains me, it definitely does.
Yeah.
You only know what you know. And so I have a job and a responsibility to share what
Yeah.
I know so that
Yeah.
other people's lives can be changed too.
That's so good. Okay, so let's dive in because I want to know because they're like, what is a Goscu? I don't even know what this thing is. It just
Yes.
right. It's
Yeah.
so let's define it because I want to make sure the
Okay.
audience know what we're actually talking about because a lot of them know what CrossFit high intensity training is, but I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure because for me it was new too. What is a Goscu?
So I'll explain it in this way. So many people have gotten an MRI before,
Hmm.
right? So you get an MRI and you get the results back,
Yeah.
and the MRI report shows that you have herniated disc or spinal stenosis.
Hmm.
And how many people would actually ask their doctor, well, why do I have this?
Yeah.
So if you did ask the question, you're probably going to get a response like it's due to aging, or you do too much CrossFit, or you play too much tennis, or it's genetics, right? So they're
Hmm.
going to blame it on something else. And so at Egoscue, we bring the good news. Okay, so we tell them, those things are absolutely not true.
Yeah.
But what is true is that your body is trying to tell you something. Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
pain, again, it's a message.
Yeah.
It's alerting you that something isn't quite right. Think of it as your body's check engine light.
Yeah.
Okay, ding, 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 pain comes
Hmm.
on, something isn't functioning right. And
Hmm.
so at Egoscue, what we do is we help people understand that pain, decode that
Yeah.
pain message, to understand what our body is trying to tell us.
Yeah.
And so it's not something to be feared, but it's something to be understood. And so what we do, we take a very macro view of the body, where a MRI is going in to hone in on the micro view of the symptom. That
Hmm.
macro view shows us the root cause of the pain. And
Hmm.
so we break it down even further. We watch people move, we look at their gait, we look at their body's limitations and compensations, and
Hmm.
then we help them understand why. Once you have that information, you can do something about it. And so we then, when we work with our clients, we're taking posture photos, we're again watching those movement patterns, and we're able to then be spot on with
Hmm.
what type of stimulus the body needs in order to restore that balance and function.
Hmm.
And it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
We can change someone's body within 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Minutes. It's immediate response. And people are like, well, why does this happen so quickly? I don't get it.
Hmm.
Like, the body responds to stimulus
Hmm.
24 hours a day, good or bad. We just introduced stimulus that your body has been robbed of,
Yeah.
and immediately it responded to it.
And then we're gonna touch upon some of those simple
Yeah.
things. I feel like some of the most simple things are the easiest to forget,
Oh,
but they're
yes.
so impactful. And I
Yeah.
want to touch up on that. But as you were kind of explaining the MRI, because I've gotten a ton of MRIs,
Yeah.
because I'm just doing crazy things all the time. And I
Right.
had this one particular scenario. Okay, I'm not gonna tell the name, but I went into a chiropractor office, and I told him about my foot, and they're like, let's just do an MRI. And I was like, cool. And I had 2 fractures on outside part of my foot. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? And they're like, you can no longer run, man. And I was like, what? I was
Yeah.
like, you can't run for the rest of your life. And I was like, I'm out of here. And then I just started researching. I was like, why is my foot fracturing on the outside? I must be doing something wrong on my runs. And it turns out I was like, what is this called when your ankles are out?
Supinating.
Supinated, right?
Yeah.
So I'm landing and it's just cracking it. So that was one of those things. So I'm just thinking, I was like, there's certain practitioners in certain fields of medicine that is like the CNN level of news for pain. And then you have Egoscue, which is like the gospel of pain,
Yes.
right? They
I
just
love
take,
that.
yeah. So you're
Yeah.
taking this pain and you're turning it into something, which by the way is one of my definitions of someone that is a truly, truly impactful and effective coach. They can take that information and use it as power,
Mhm.
which is why I wanted to bring you in here, because you have that essence and energy. So I'm pumped about that. So let's talk
Thank you.
about,
Yeah.
sorry. So
Yeah.
let's talk about some of those like low hanging fruit,
Okay.
because you've taught me a few and I was like, how come I'm not doing this? And,
Yeah.
I want to talk some of those things, because a lot of the people that probably listening to this is probably on their desk 80% of the time,
Oh, yeah.
and they experience back pain, they experience neck pain, they experience shoulder pain.
Mhm.
If you guys want to really see her and fix all of those things, you should. But I want to give like maybe 1 to 3 things that people
Yeah.
can do right now for 30 seconds that's going to completely change their posture.
Yes, there are several things that one of the things that I recommend, and I tell like even my clients to do this throughout the day. But um, do you want to actually do it, or do you want to just me to describe it?
Can you just, I mean,
I can
I'm
just
doing it right now.
I
I'm
can
like, I
describe it.
need to
But if
stand
you're
straight.
if you're sitting at your desk, the common position people will sit in is slouched, right? So you'll sit and your shoulders are
It's
forward, your
me.
head is forward, and so a lot of people will take to standing desks so they can avoid that slouching.
Yeah.
But poor posture is poor posture. You're going to have the same poor posture sitting as you do standing
Right.
to a degree. So, something you can do when you're sitting is to kind of focus on rolling your hips forward and keeping your shoulders stacked over your hips. So,
Mhm.
keeping that balanced curve in your spine, right?
Yeah.
Keep it so this is a C curve. We restore the S curve when we roll our hips forward and sit up tall. We also feel more confident and project our voice better when we're sitting like this versus like
Yeah.
this. You can feel the difference.
Mhm.
Right? It's an energy shift. And then if you're a standing desk, right? If you're standing, imagine this is your feet, right? So you want to actually take your feet and pigeon toe them. So you're going to bring your big toes to touch and you're going to kick your heels out
Okay.
and then tighten your quads. That's immediately going to bring balance and extension into your hips.
Okay.
And then you're going to take your fingers and interlace them like this and
Okay.
put them behind your head, pulling your elbows back and just pull your elbows back just like that and breathe while you're pigeon toeing, hands are behind the head. Stand like that, breathe like that for a minute or two.
Okay.
Starting your day that way while your coffee's brewing, stand like that. But that immediately is going to bring your spine into balance, your hips into balance, and just remind your body of the position that it desperately wants to be in. So try it. You'll feel the difference
I already want to
right
stand
away.
straight.
Yeah, exactly. It calls
Okay.
upon those muscles that aren't doing what they need to do during the day. It wakes them up and brings
Yeah.
them into the game.
Yeah, because those. I like how you said the coffee thing. Because
Yeah.
normally, here's what I'm doing. I'm making my coffee, and I'm rolling through social
Yeah,
media.
exactly.
I was like, dang, I just need
Scrolling.
to replace that.
Yeah.
What if I just did this? Turn on a YouTube, and
Yeah.
just hold it while the coffee's brewing. That's at
Exactly.
least 3, 4
It
minutes.
is. Yeah.
Gosh, send me the invoice.
Yeah.
I'll send it to everybody else. Okay, so you touched up and you glossed over your like just changing your posture can change your emotions. You said just confidence, and I
Yes.
100%
Mhm.
agree. That's why I started getting into meditation, because that posture is very interesting to me. You
Yeah.
know, just sitting up straight, chest up, breathing, and you leave that session feeling like an entirely different person.
Yes.
So how much is posture important, and how much is managing emotions important? Are they both like, can you change any of them at the same, like, how does that work? Because
Yeah. Well, I'll speak on the emotional component of what I do.
Mhm.
Is that good?
Yeah.
So there is absolutely a connection between emotions and posture. So do you know the book The Body Keeps the Score,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely we store trauma and emotion in in our body, right? We store it. And so I'll have clients go through an exercise where their psoas is releasing. And this
Mhm.
is a true story. This has happened.
Yeah.
Psoas is releasing. She starts crying and her mom comes up. Okay.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Wow. Client gets out of an exercise. It was a very challenging exercise for her. And she gets up off the floor and immediately opens up about her marriage troubles.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing because when you work on the physical, then it's like then where you've stored the trauma and you're trying to let go of that, it just
Mhm.
comes up
Yeah.
and it shows you how that they're connected.
Mhm.
It shows you they're connected and it's a beautiful thing because again, that's a message. Okay,
Mhm.
I haven't forgiven that person yet.
Yeah.
This is something I need to deal with that I haven't,
Yeah.
right? And so,
You had this like tonality shift. And I feel like some of my best moments in my client sessions, it's not the physical side.
it's not. No.
It's when you realize they release something that they've been holding on for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
And we do a movement called the snatch, right? So it's
Yeah.
overhead, and
Yeah.
that one is really interesting to me. Or anything pressing overhead. I don't think a lot of people move their hands overhead
They don't.
at all, right? So, and then they have these moments where they have their own epiphanies, and then I'm like, this is why I do it.
Yeah.
It's not just for their triceps,
No, it's
right?
not. This is why you do what you do. Yes, I get those reminders
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. I get those reminders of in the moment being with the person and they share those things with me. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
why we need to be present with people. This is
Mm-hmm.
why they need our 100% focus, not 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Snaps us out of our funks
Mm-hmm.
because we're there, like we're there to add value and to listen. And so when they share those deep moments with us, it's just like, wow, like it almost, you feel grateful. There's like so much gratitude in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I do what I do. and and so I think oftentimes we can get into a place where we're in our funks and we're suffering, like we feel like we're suffering or we're not. And I think that means that we're focusing too much on ourselves. And when we focus on ourselves, we will suffer
Mm-hmm.
constantly,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
And
so good.
it's not about us, it's about them.
It is, yeah.
100%.
So when a client walks in, this is kind of what I look at, and then I'm like, hey, what are some of your goals?
Yeah.
And they tell you it's weight loss or weight gain or reducing pain, and then I ask them a separate question where I'm like, why? Right? What's the big driver for you? Is it health? Is it stress? Like, is it confidence? And oftentimes they'll say one of those three things or all of them, right? And when they say confidence, just in general, I already feel like they're already kyphotic. They're rounded forward
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
So instantly, I'm just like, okay, let's just do back exercises all day for this person until it lifts up. And there's a particular for my audience that's watching this. All I accessorize is the back. They're like, how come we never do the biceps? And I was like, it's like it's not like I know this. I gotta get you here. If I can get you to here, there's gonna be some pretty amazing epiphanies and things. And I think some of the trainers that are really really good at their craft is they use everything. They're not just there to just, hey, you need to do XYZ reps. They understand the nature of where they are in their mind, and they use what their knowledge is in terms of how to get their body comfortably in that position, and then they bridge it out. And man, we could talk about excellence. We're going to touch up on that, but you do that already, which is amazing. So let's talk about a little bit on how other changing your posture can change your life.
Yes.
So
I love this topic because I have to talk about this with my clients because they'll come in with chronic pain. And in order to get them to see a compelling future, go beyond the pain. It is posture is so much more than that. So posture plays a role in how we feel every single day. It plays a role in how we move. It plays a role in our overall health and well-being. And so examples of that are, our every system in our body is housed within our musculoskeletal system.
right.
So an aligned body is an overall healthier you. So that means if you're carrying around all this rounding shoulders, forward head,
Yeah.
you're changing the function of your respiratory system, your circulatory system. You can't breathe well. The blood isn't flowing through your body into your brain. Number one cause of migraines and headaches, lack of oxygen and blood flow to the brain.
Yeah.
Now they've even linked cognitive decline to forward head posture. It's like,
Oh,
wow.
man.
And compressing on your major organs, digestive issues. Now, I mean, it's not the only cause, but fertility problems is big with misalignments in pelvis and spine. And so it, like, if you have health as a priority of yours, pain aside, your posture has to be addressed.
Yes.
Just has to.
It's one of those things where I hated my parents for it because they're like, stand up straight.
Yeah.
Stand up straight.
Yeah.
And then they would just like smack you on the back. And it was, I was like, dang it. And then I would just, but yeah, it's huge.
It's so much worse now because
Yeah.
back then, I mean, we at least were playing outside and running and climbing and doing all these things. And nowadays, every kid you see at a restaurant,
They're on
their tablets, they're on their phones. and
Mhm.
no, they're not playing anymore.
Mhm. And then they
So
all attribute it to social media. I was like, that's one. It's one area,
yeah, yeah,
right? But that social media is putting their body in this really interesting posture,
yes,
which
very
is
interesting.
which is a depressive posture,
It is.
right? When
Yeah,
someone is depressed, I picture them rounded forward, looking down,
yeah,
right? And it's huge.
yeah,
So I love that. I love how you brought that up.
yeah.
So on that, the posture side of things, you said that when they start to kind of straighten out a little bit, and you've had clients go through that. You've been doing this. How long have you been doing this?
Almost 10 years now.
10 years. How did it affect their career?
Oh yeah, well I could go into this too. Well, because just the confidence part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we change our posture, then we automatically we like how we look, right? There's an aesthetic portion to it. We
Yeah.
feel it
Yeah.
immediately. Like I ask clients feedback, what feels different as they move?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm standing up so much straighter. My
Yeah.
shoulders are back. That's like immediate, that
Yeah.
immediate energy shift. And I've recently too, just the other day, one of my clients said, I feel like an athlete.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Like,
That's
right? Like, that's
interesting.
so cool. And so it's just like, they don't always come in thinking they want to do, they're like, I just kind of want to get out of my pain. Sometimes it's like, but then they start to feel so different. They're like, well, now I
Their
kind of want to
identity
join a
changes.
gym.
Yeah.
Or now, you know what I mean? Like, I want to run again. Like all these things I didn't think were possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit, but with the changing the career, right?
Right.
So let's talk about job interviews
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
landing your dream job and going into an interview. Like if you're going in there confident, sitting
Yeah.
up straight, standing up tall, projecting
Mm-hmm.
your voice versus going in and you
Kind of
got a shoulder
slouch.
stuck up into your ear and you're round. I mean, there's a there's a difference, right? Who would you
Right.
be more likely to hire? You want to
100%.
hire the confident person, the
Yes.
person who looks like they take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And then stage presence. This is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And love my pastor at church, but
Yeah.
I look at him on stage and I'm like, your
Change your
knee,
posture.
yes, please,
Yeah.
because like I see, I'm sure people are familiar with the term knock knees, right?
Mm-hmm.
We call it like a valgus knee stress, and so
It's when the
where the knees
knees
are
are diving
starting
in.
to come
Okay.
in toward each other, and
Mm-hmm.
I see that, and it's like if that changed, not only would you appear taller,
Mm-hmm.
and if we got your spine just a little bit extended, your voice
Yeah.
would project.
So your
It's just a
influence
change.
changes too.
Yeah, your influence changes, and
Okay.
so it's a big deal. And so even like making, I talk about making decisions, because if our energy's low, if our systems aren't operating
Mm-hmm.
and functioning to their optimal level,
Yeah.
then we're not going to be. Our energy's low. Sex drive is down.
Mm-hmm.
Mental cognitive function declined. We don't
Mm-hmm.
show up for our families. Probably aren't going to make the best financial decisions. So we can
Mm-hmm.
absolutely play a role in your life, like way far beyond like getting out of pain.
I love it. They did this study. I can't believe I'm doing a Huberman study here. But not that crazy study, guys. I'm not going to give you. But I was
Yeah.
reading a book that had a study, and the study was with these kids.
Mhm.
And the objective of the study was to accomplish this puzzle. And one of these students, right, they were just like, solve the puzzle. And that's it, right? The other students was like, I want you to pick your favorite superhero. And they all got to pick their favorite superhero in that moment. And then they measured the amount of time it took them to finish that puzzle. And what was really cool is they saw statistically significant amounts of the students like surpass the students that didn't have that visualization of that superhero. And when we think about the superhero and its posture, their chest is up. They're
Yeah.
more upright. And then all that, the brain that you were talking about, it's all tapping in.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys that are trying to accomplish a problem right now, or maybe you have a puzzling thing that you don't even know how to accomplish, picture your favorite superhero first, get into that
Yes.
posture, and then comment below and let us know if it works.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. And we can talk to you just about even results, like people maybe that aren't getting the results they want working out,
Mhm.
because they're like, wow, I eat all the right things. I work out 7 days a week. I drink
Mhm.
plenty of water. Why am I not seeing the physical results? I
Yeah.
feel better because I move every day,
Yeah.
but like I'm not seeing the results. And so so what we'll call a pelvic bloat,
Yeah.
where your pelvis is tipped forward, your spine is really rounded. It pulls your stomach forward,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't allow you to properly engage your abdominal wall. And
Mhm.
so people, it's like skinny fat
Yeah.
almost, right? It's
Yeah.
like you have this gut you cannot get rid of for the life of you. And so the second that posture changes, oh my gosh, it's like the abdominal wall expands. You can
Mhm.
actually start seeing
The
that
side
six
abs.
pack that's,
Yeah.
yeah, or whatever has been
Yeah.
hidden underneath that
Mhm.
bloat.
Mhm.
I mean, it's incredible. And so if you think about consistently adding load and demand onto an imbalanced compensatory moving type of body, right?
Mhm.
They're spine driven movers versus hip driven movers,
Yeah.
right? Everything's powered and driven through their spine. So they're stressing their body out every time they work out,
Mhm.
and
You
then
threw a
they're
bit.
not getting the results they want.
Yeah.
So
You,
it's
you threw a word compensatory. What does that mean?
compensating
Oh, okay.
compensating movement, right? So
Learn something learned
yeah,
today.
so say you're going into a squat.
Yeah.
Okay, you're squatting,
Okay.
and when you squat, in order to go, when you go into flexion, your ankle collapses and pronates in.
Okay.
That's a compensating movement. Say when you go into a squat, your pelvis rotates and you
Yeah.
overload one side.
It's
That's a
compensating.
compensating movement.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna start using compensatory from now on. And they're like, "Dang, you sound really smart." And I
Yeah.
was like, "I know." Okay,
I
so
love that. Yeah.
I want to talk about because you said how like there's certain athletes that are not getting the results they want,
Yeah.
and now I'm thinking hormonal, right? So
Yeah.
what's like the posture you're because everything is up here, right? There's all these things
Yeah.
that are so critical in terms of because I have men that have low testosterone, I
Oh
have
yeah.
women that have thyroid issues galore. Have you seen benefits when a person's more upright and straight, regulate their hormones a lot better?
Yeah, it's definitely possible to
Right.
for changing your
Hmm.
posture and the overall function of your body to improve those other things. Again, everything's
Yeah.
connected.
Right.
And so again, if there's, there could be, of course there's other factors, but with hormones and thyroid and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
your body is stressed. It's not in the position that it should be in, right? And so
Hmm.
those systems again aren't functioning the way that they should. So improving your posture improves those systems.
Right.
Therefore, those other things definitely have a chance of being resolved too. And then you
Yeah.
want to tackle it from all different avenues. Posture has to be one of them. You can't avoid it.
Hmm.
But of course, maybe there are other things that you need to take you need to change too
Okay.
in
So
the
it's
way
a
you eat.
holistic approach, right?
A holistic approach, again,
Yeah.
finding the root of it.
Hmm. It's really interesting because one of my favorite events that happens every 4 years is the Olympics.
Yeah.
And you look at the top 10 sprinters and you line them up and they all look the same, right? Very similar body
Yes.
types, posture.
Yes.
One might be longer, like Hussein Bolt, right? But
Yeah.
he's just like, but most of them look very similar. And if you can just mirror what some of those athletes look like and create exercises and posture around those things, I think you're doing yourself like a massive service in getting towards that health continuum, right?
Yeah.
So I always look at that as like, how do you want to look like? Try to mirror that as much as you possibly can. Not what they look like, but their alignment,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
And one thing too, another tip is when you're just standing and talking to somebody, having a conversation, focus on your feet. Don't focus
mhm,
on pulling your shoulders back necessarily. If you change just your foot position,
mhm,
and at a Goski, we look at a straight foot as being the pinky toe to heel lining up. So
right.
you're going to, when you stand, almost look 5 degrees pigeon toed.
Yeah.
Stand like that, feel the difference. Everything else in your body just starts to go into a better position,
Yeah.
right? And then you can pull your shoulders back a little bit, but focus on the feet first and move up. But yeah, that's, you know, the knee. Then when you focus on the feet, your knees face forward,
Yeah.
right? And then your arms are more relaxed at your sides.
So that was the only thing I changed. Remember I
Yeah.
told you about me breaking my foot? My
Oh,
only thing that
yeah.
I changed
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna run with pigeon toes. Let's just go see what happens. And it felt really weird. It felt like I was running like this. But then over the course of like
Yeah.
a month, I started to notice my pain disappear. And then eventually I'm just like, man, maybe I could do more than this. Maybe I can do more.
Yeah.
And I'm accumulating so much more
Yeah.
now. And I'm like, man, what have I been doing all this time?
Yeah.
Which is something so just like, just turn your feet in a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
then,
just yeah, like turn them in a little bit, right? And also to when you're training that, right? When you've actually like that's a tool. We don't recommend people walk like that necessarily
okay.
because you know what I
Yeah.
mean, but
We've
we
seen
want
the,
it yeah, we want it to happen. We want it to just be organic. Okay?
hmm
And that's really what it's about is just moving that way without having to think about it. And
hmm
as you train that over time, that's what happens. You don't have to force your feet in. You don't have to think about it. You just run that way.
hmm
And so one of the things we do at Egoscue is called a function run. It's
hmm
actually an exercise, but you can utilize it as a way to take away compensation from the upper body and restore proper function in the hips,
Okay.
right? And so training the proper mechanics that you need for a run,
Right.
it's incredible what it does, but it does force you to have your feet straight, heel, ball, toe, upper body relaxed. It almost is like looks kind of like a little trot,
Right.
but it's amazing what it does for your running mechanics and your posture and hip function. Incredible. So we're doing a community function run in about a
Okay.
month. So I will
Wow.
invite you to that, and you should
Yeah.
definitely come.
Put it on. We'll put it on the show notes too.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so one of my prescriptions was like, hey, you need to go train 3 times a week, like minimum. That's
Okay.
like the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a lot of these Egoscue exercises, the 30-second ones, the 1 minute holds,
Yeah.
all of those things, how often should a person be doing these things to change their life? Is it an everyday thing? Is it like
Yeah.
once a week? Like what do you recommend?
Yeah. At least once a day.
Yeah.
So definitely, and consistency wins, right? Because it's not what you do once in a while that matters. It's what we do every day.
hmm
So doing what we call is your own personal menu of exercises. So we would
hmm
want you to do your menu every single day for
hmm
the best results. Just like you think about you get up and brush your teeth every day because we know what would happen if we didn't brush our teeth every day. Same
Yeah.
thing with your Egoscue program. Doing the exercises every day, right, sets our body up for
hmm
success for the day.
Yeah.
And so you can all, I have people who do them twice a day. I have people who use random exercises throughout the day because they know that that exercise makes them feel better. And
hmm
so at least once a day, but
Yeah.
doing more is awesome too.
I love that. Yeah, I love that message when you first said, "How many times do you brush your teeth?" I was like, "Every day." It's like,
Yeah.
"Well, you should probably do that same thing." By the way, a
Yes.
chunk of my teeth fell down, so I got to get it capped.
How did that happen?
From not flossing every
Oh
day. That's
no.
what it was.
Oh
I
no.
got it
See?
cleaned 3 times, but flossing
Yeah.
is the thing that I eat a lot of hard things. So
Yeah.
like I think I was like, it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
it was a piece of my teeth.
Oh no.
So it is what it is. I
That
need
was
to do more
your
Egoscue.
mouth's check engine light, right? Telling you to floss
Yeah.
more.
So I have like an emergency. They have to go in there and like cap it because it can get really infected or something like that. So
Oh no.
it's really interesting. And I hate dentists.
So do I.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So on a side note, my fault, but yeah, you should do it every single day. I wanted to touch up on that.
Yep.
So now I want to touch up a little bit on the coaching side
Okay.
because this is something that you're obsessed with currently, and I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of obsessed with it at the moment as well, right? Which is delivering excellent service in the time that you're in. And I
Yeah.
want to kind of go over what that looks like for you and how you're trying to create that in your own sessions, but also with your employees.
Yeah.
How do you deliver excellence on a daily basis?
So excellence to me is definitely going above and beyond, right?
hmm
It is a standard. It is something that is better. It is like the best. It's
Yeah.
not good, it's not great, it's excellent.
hmm
And so I have in moments where I know I haven't like I've learned to be excellent because I've recognized moments that I hadn't been, right? And I've
hmm
seen the results of those moments.
Yeah.
And again, going back to that conversation we had about a client and opening up and breaking through and having that moment with her. And I'm like, she needs 100% of me right now.
Right.
And so it's going above and beyond. And so it's really, for me, a lot of how I'm excellent is part of just who I am. It's in my kindness, it's in my curiosity for people, it's in my grace, it's in my
Mm-hmm.
patience, it's in my gentleness, it's in those fruits of the spirit that are just in me that helps me be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while I can't train those are things that somebody can, right? Like a child, they can
Yeah.
observe like a sponge,
Right.
right? And start to be like, okay, I want to be more like that. I want to be like that. And they learn how
Mm-hmm.
to be that. And so, and that's how I like to demonstrate that
Yeah.
for people. But I also like to make people feel special
Mm-hmm.
and important. And so I had actually a few clients coming in at the same time. Crazy how this happens all at once,
Yeah.
trying to get pregnant,
Yeah.
or they've just conceived.
Yeah.
So I ordered a few pain-free, Pete Egosky's Pain-Free for Women
Yeah.
books.
Just giving.
Gift.
Just
Yeah.
gifts. Yeah.
And just like, wow, like they were very grateful and appreciative of that.
Right.
But just, a client who brings their dog in every week and loves their dog.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a bag of treats for your dog, or here's a present for your
Yeah.
kid that you adore. And so it's just really going the extra mile to make them feel special, because they are special,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so and so also, it's just the simple things. Like, excellence is in the little details. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
too, the little details of how you greet somebody when they walk in the door, staying close to them in an appointment,
Mm-hmm.
um, asking them questions, being curious,
Yeah.
right? And so that's part of just how I practice excellence, and I
Mm-hmm.
strive to get better at it, because obviously there's always room
Yeah.
for growth. But you think about when you go out to eat,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is kind of what I compare it to. And you go to a place and someone's like, "How was that?" And you're like, "It's okay. It was okay."
Yeah.
And you're like, "It was good. It
Yeah.
was great." But sometimes we
It's
go to a
excellent.
place and we say, "That was excellent." There's
Mm-hmm.
a difference.
Yeah.
The excellent is in the going above and beyond, the staff, the service, right? It's those
Mm-hmm.
moments of, wow, appetizers were brought to my table just so we could try some new things on the menu, or it's
Mm-hmm.
our first time, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's those excellence is in the little details
Yeah.
of making somebody feel special.
I'm.
And when you're excellent, you create raving fans.
Yeah.
You get to work with their aunts and their uncles and their cousins and their friends, and their moms and their dads, and they're just like, you got to go there. These people are excellent.
I love it. Yeah.
Not just good.
They're
They're
excellent.
excellent. Yeah.
And they're excellent, and it's scary because it's small, like you said, small
Yeah.
details. I went into a restaurant the other day and they were like, "Hey Royce, what's going on, man? You want your coffee again?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, just
Yeah.
black, right?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it's black." How did you remember that?
Yeah.
And boom, that just went from a good experience to an excellent experience because this
Yes.
person remembered what I always get.
Yeah.
And it's something so small like that, and people don't understand that excellence doesn't have to be so grand.
No.
It could be a text after your session and being like, "Hey Sam, I appreciate you sharing that with me. That was really impactful. You got this. I believe in you. I'll see you
Yeah.
next session."
Yeah.
Right? They're like, "What?" It's okay to actually burst out in tears sometimes. And you're like, "Yeah, no big deal." Right?
Yeah.
So something so small like that I agree. And you have to do it. You have to do it so many
You
times, and
do.
you have to show it to your
Yep.
people what that looks
You
like.
do.
So, but then with that amount of productivity, how much work do you do on your own to maintain that level of productivity?
Like, what kind of work do I
Yeah,
do
like
to get better
like
at being
self-care almost,
excellent?
yeah.
Self-care?
How much self-care do you do?
Oh, lots.
Okay.
I am a self-care nerd.
Okay.
So I do just a little bit of everything. One of the big things that helps me stay excellent is in my prayer, my time with God, studying the
Mhm.
Word. That helps me be the person that I am. It's
Yeah.
my core. It is in reading and staying inspired. Love podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to my pastor at church's leadership podcast, which is phenomenal. I
Yeah.
listen to,
Which church do you go to, by the way?
it's called City Light.
That's where I'm
City
going,
Light.
dude.
You're going to City Light?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Have you listened to
Jabin.
Jabin's
Yeah.
podcast? His leadership
I haven't
podcast?
listened to his
Oh, you
podcast.
have
Sometimes
to.
I'll go to his Wednesday entrepreneur meeting in the mornings.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's just like he
He's
shares
amazing.
a word. And
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And his leadership podcast is fantastic. So you should definitely
what am
listen
I
to.
doing over here?
I know.
I didn't go to Easter because I can't when it's too many people. But I heard it wasn't that many people, so I was like, dang, I could have just went.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So like when there's too many people, I'm like, I can't do it.
Not for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm like this. I'm very introverted at heart. So the
Yeah.
smaller and more effective sometimes I
Yeah.
actually charge up. So
Okay.
this whole online side now is like a dream to me.
Yeah.
Because now I can go into a sermon every morning.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait till Sunday, right? And I could be
Yeah.
in the
You
space of
can.
my own room.
Yeah,
So it's nice.
exactly. And being inspired. Yeah. And so that's one thing that has to be done. The way that I eat, the quality of foods that I put in my body. When I'm not eating well,
Mhm.
I'm not excellent. I have brain fog. I'm tired. Energy's not there. So the quality of foods that I put in my body, very important. I
Mhm.
red light.
Doing all of it.
I do. Yeah, I take. I'm really into Gary Brecka right now, so I'm doing the perfect aminos.
What's Gary Brucker?
Gary Brecka.
What's that?
He's just a big like biohacker.
Oh, okay.
And he has a
Is he the
podcast
10X
called
Life?
Yeah, it is the 10X
Okay.
Life. Yeah, and so
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
just gotten into him and I've started taking some of his stuff.
Mhm.
But working out every single not every single day, but I work out 5 to 6 days a week.
Mhm.
And so just those things to take care of me so that I can be excellent
Mhm.
for others. You cannot be excellent for others if you are not taking care of it. If you're not taking care of yourself, it's
Yeah.
impossible.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I want the audience to just grasp that. If you want to pursue a level of excellence, you have to be obsessed of what makes you tick.
Yeah.
Like learning about yourself, what gives you kind of that spiritual growth in a way where you just feel full. And I agree. Like you have to find that and you have to do that. I study that more sometimes than what I study in business. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like what throughout this week, what charged me up the most? And then
Yeah.
I'll reflect on it. And I learned that. I was like, okay, can I do that 2 more times next week? Could I do that 10 more times that week? And just by the focus in learning what truly makes me happy just naturally drives excellence in other areas of my life without even really trying sometimes. It's
Exactly.
really interesting.
Yeah. Right. Yep. You're becoming more of who you really are, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like we're amazing. Like that's the thing is we're created intentionally. We have a purpose.
Yeah.
We are designed for greatness, to do great things. And I don't know if you heard this at church, but it was like your life isn't small, but you're living it in a small way.
So good.
We're created to do big things.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't and we get, life is hard too. Like, let's be honest. Like there's a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
But if we're not taking care of ourselves and striving to be the best version of ourselves, we're going to fail. We're going to miss our mark. We're going to miss living life to the fullness of how it was created for us.
I love it.
So
good.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're trying to lose weight, but you're just frustrated because you just can't seem to see any results, we would love to help you out. Now, we've been helping thousands of our athletes over the course of a decade by crafting personalized programs that are not only sustainable, but also effective. Now, if you're ready to transform your health, click on the show notes below, book a call with one of our coaches. We'd love to help you out. Now back to the show. Peace.
I want to touch up on some faith.
Okay.
Okay, because it's been such a big component for you. And it actually, so when we first met, I was kind of just dabbling in it. I was like,
Yeah.
like I'm kind of just exploring and searching. And then now I'm like, I'm all in the Word. I'm going to finish this whole Bible. I'm going to finish this Bible. And I'm like halfway through.
That's amazing,
and
right?
I'm watching like little content. So I was like, I don't even know what that means. I'm going to go,
Yeah.
I'm going to go research that. So I've been on I'd read at least a chapter a day, which has been
Awesome.
amazing for me. And just let's talk about prayer. Let's talk about faith. How does that play a role in your excellence?
Well, so when when we pray, we are coming into this conversation with God, right? We're going into the spiritual realm, joining that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we pray, it's like we are saying, for me, it's like in my own strength,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very good,
Yeah.
right? So when I call out to God, I say like, you know, uh, use me, God, to be a blessing to others, but intercede in my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
how I speak, how I engage. I said, let others feel your presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just exude your character, right? I want to be more like you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just like humbly asking and admitting that you need him.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have adopted that, I mean, it's radically changed my life. I don't think that I would be even here
Mm-hmm.
in this career had I not asked,
Yeah.
right? We don't have because we do not ask. And so without prayer, it's like we lose that connection, that communication with our
Mm-hmm.
creator,
Yeah.
right? We're made in the image of God, right?
How often do you pray?
How often?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, at least twice a day. I like to
Oh my
pray.
gosh. Okay.
Well, so here's what I like to do because we're not perfect.
Right.
I start my day with it. I go
Mm-hmm.
into my office. I wake up in the morning. I sometimes prayer journal.
Yeah.
So I'll write out my thoughts and my prayers. I'll literally, dear God, right? I'll
Yeah.
write out my prayers and then I will say them aloud. And then I'll go more in depth with
Mm-hmm.
with it. And so that helps you organize, I think, your thoughts and what you really want to say. And also helps you when you write it down, you go back and you realize when you read your old prayers, like how
Mm-hmm.
faithful he was and how he did answer your prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we forget how
Yeah.
amazing, how amazing he
It comes
is and
true.
how,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I do that, but also like sometimes I get really busy. It's like I gotta fly out the door. Like I don't have
Yeah.
time for that intimate like 30 minutes of the morning. So I will pray on my way to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pray on my drive. I'll
Mm-hmm.
sometimes pray the entire time.
Yeah.
And so it's really not. It's not. I'm not. I'm doing it because I know I need him. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing it to get. I'm
Yeah.
doing it because I know.
Yeah.
And it's my way to stay connected to
Yeah.
him.
So prior to me seeking that out, I started doing meditation,
Yeah.
affirmations, and journaling.
Yeah.
Right? Those were the big three things that I was doing before I even searched faith.
Yeah.
Right. And then as I started to evolve, because I was like, how do I pray? I don't even know how to pray. He was like, just have a conversation.
Yeah.
If you have a conversation with your dad, have a conversation with your dad. And I started to realize that every time I had that conversation, and I would actually write some of those things down. You're right. The present would come in the front door. And in
Yeah.
ways sometimes you don't even realize. You're like, what? I was just talking about that.
Yeah.
And that was first affirmations, because that was just like a thing. I was like, okay, like today this is challenges are going to come in front of me and I'm going to be able to handle it. That was like my affirmation back then. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but now one of those things was like, bring people in front of me so I can, like, you can give me the questions that allow you to serve the people that you want me to serve. And now it's like
Yeah.
one of the big things that I say in the morning. It's like, can you give me those questions?
Yeah.
Because I know they have to serve someone. And my conversations lately is like, okay, I'm gonna ask a question that they're gonna be able to help someone, whoever that is. And it's really helped me just constantly grow. But it also gives me a sense of peace and confidence that everything just works out. And
Yeah.
I could just like hit the gas pedal as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah. And life is happening for you. It's not happening to you.
yeah,
So it all does work out.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I find myself praying, even though I say meditating, I'm actually having conversations.
You are.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
it used to be just once in the morning. Now I'm like, man, I'm doing so much. Like, what happens if I do two? And I would have this burst of energy the second half.
Yeah.
Then what happens if I do three? So it's really interesting. I find myself as I grow as a person, I pray more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to
It
me.
is. Yeah, it is. It's again, like I said, it's radically changed my life, the prayer and just being in the word. And sometimes it's like you know, as I'm reading the book of Genesis right now, and
Mhm.
so going back to the beginning, but it's like you hear these stories and you start to understand more of the character of God and like who he is.
Mhm.
He is faithful, right? And so
Mhm.
he challenges and tests us, but he is faithful. He's always just trying to help us to become who he's created us to be.
Mhm.
And so that's why we have to go through hard stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but reading the word, it helps you fall more in love with God. That's why we read.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it can when you understand it more, when you can read and understand and grow in knowing who he is, that's how you grow deeper in your relationship and your true love for him. And
Mhm.
you can't do that without knowing him. Prayer and reading and all that is you knowing, growing deeper with God and having a true relationship with him.
That's so
And
good.
it's just like your relationship with your wife. If you didn't
Yeah.
have conversation, if you weren't
You don't have a relationship at
communicating,
all. Yeah.
you don't have a relationship,
Yeah.
right? If you didn't, yeah, if you weren't listening to her and learning more about her and spending that quality time,
Mhm.
your relationship probably wouldn't be very strong.
Is Genesis, does that include the Adam and Eve component? Is that
Yes.
on
Oh,
Genesis?
yeah.
Okay, cool. So what are some of the lessons that you got from that Adam and Eve? Because I was, that's like, I studied that for a little bit too. I was like, man, there's a lot of nuggets just in this. The whole, all the answers are
Yeah.
on that.
They,
So,
yeah, to a degree. Yeah. Well, I think too, going back, I heard this story before, but going back to the story of Adam and Eve, in the garden when they were tempted,
mhm.
right? And God said, "You can have you know,
Anything you
anything
want,
you want.
everything
Just yes, exactly.
freely.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. It's freely given,
Yeah.
but just don't eat from this one tree."
Yeah.
And then they were tempted, but the second that they that they were tempted, right, and the fruit was eaten,
Mhm.
and then God came back and they were all of a sudden now
Yeah.
they're they're naked and hiding.
Right.
And God comes and he's looking and he says, "You're hiding." And they come
Yeah.
out and they're like, "Oh, we were afraid. So we went and covered ourselves." He's like, "How did you even know you were naked?"
Yeah.
Right? But the second that sin entered the picture,
Mhm.
right? We no longer, it's like we were aware. That was shame. They felt shame
Mhm.
and they felt fear.
Yeah.
Those things weren't in the picture until there were sin,
Yeah.
right? And so it just shows us how that separated us from God.
Right.
But in order to come into that with God, he had to pay the price and end
Yeah.
up paying the penalty and dying for our sins. But
Right.
it is so that we can be, it's freely given, right? But it's
Mhm.
so that we can be with him and spend eternity with him.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the original, we're born into sin. We need a
Mhm.
savior, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and he is our savior.
One of the lessons on that was we're so fixated just on that little tree that we forget all of the things that are around it,
Yes.
right? The
Every day.
the abundance
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
So I related to it because I'm just like I'm so fixated on the lack. And then when you fixate on the lack, that's all you get is lack. But
Yes.
then when you start to fixate on the abundance, which is really a greater relation, closer relationship to God, there's so much more,
I know.
right? So
Yeah.
I was writing on my journal because it's an ever growing battle for me of getting into that scarcity mindset. I was like, why is that? And I started to contrast where when I was in Philippines where I had nothing, didn't eat, didn't have doors, didn't have
Yeah.
windows, and I was so happy. And then to hear. And I wrote down, we have so much abundance in this country
Yeah.
that everything that you get feels like it's scarce all of a sudden. But
Yeah.
then if I just contrast it, I was like, there's so much. There's too much.
Yeah.
And I just have to remind myself that there's so much. There's constantly. And it's unlimited.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
I know. And that's how God provides in abundance, right?
mhm.
And there's so many stories in the Bible that talk about when he provides, like he provides,
Yeah.
right? So much fit, like that was like the 5 loaves and the fish, the 2 fish, it turned
Yeah.
into, right? So much like immediately, right? It was
Mhm.
there's fish that were overflowing, right? And bread automatically, just
Yeah.
like there's so much bread to feed everybody.
Yeah.
Like, how can you turn this
Into
something like that? And he's like, well, when God provides, he doesn't just provide a little, like he
Yeah.
provides abundantly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your excellence, and then I know one of your greatest attempts is like, if I want others to be excellent, I need to be excellent myself.
Yeah.
So once you keep doing that, how do you, or what's your attempts in getting your colleagues and your staff to be able to do that too? How do you give that out?
Well, outside of demonstrating that for them, right? Being an example.
Mm-hmm.
If there's also a circumstance where I see that they might not be practicing excellence, right? It's just it's a conversation. It's not you did something wrong, but how could we make that even better? But they also have to have they also have to a degree want to be great. They have to want to be excellent too.
Yeah.
Because you can't practice it unless you want it.
Right.
So you have to find that quality in people. The person the guy that is working with me now, he has that. He wants to be great. He wants to strive for excellence.
Yeah.
So I don't, and he often says, I love the questions that you ask.
Yeah.
I admire this, that. And so he's picking up on things,
Yeah.
which is great because he's wanting to have that. And I had excellent coaches like training me when I started Agoscu. And I was like, oh, I want to be more like her. I want to be more like them.
Yeah.
And it was just, and it came in the ability for what I admired was their ability to connect with others on a level.
Okay.
That for me at the time, I was like, I don't think I can do that. I had so much stuff going on. I hadn't gotten to that point.
Yeah.
But here I am, it's
Yeah.
a decade later, right? And I'm not perfect, but I'm continuing to strive toward more and more excellence. And I want to have a team and how you grow as a team is when you're all like, they don't think they have to come see me
Yeah.
to get excellent therapy or service. They can get that from the other people that work at the clinic too. In order to expand and grow in Las Vegas and do bigger things, we have to have people working with us
that want to be excellent.
They have to want it.
Yeah. So step 1 is you become excellent, right? And then
step 1, yes.
And then step 2 is find others or possibly attract others that already want to be excellent.
Yeah.
And then once you have that step 2, now it's distilling everything you know towards that person that wants to learn.
Yeah.
Did I just do that right? Was that 3
Absolutely.
steps?
That was amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm doing as much as I possibly can. Sometimes I forget that third step. My whole job is to learn as much as I possibly can, find others that are excellent, and then distill that knowledge. And for a long time, I did it, and then I stopped for a little bit, and I noticed the excellence started to dissipate again. And I was like, wait, my job is supposed to they're not supposed to learn all the time. I'm supposed to learn, and because they want to hear from me.
Yeah.
which is really interesting to me. I was like, why can't you just read the book? Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I get into those situations like, just read the book. It's like, but they don't want to read the book. They want to hear it from you. They want to distill it from your knowledge,
They
which is
do.
really interesting epiphany for me, because I was like, oh, you guys want to listen to me? Why don't you just listen to this person that wrote the book? Because
Yeah.
that's where I'm getting it from,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah. And too with that, just, yes, you want to share things that have inspired you, which I sometimes I feel like I overshare. Like, oh, you
Mhm.
should, and for me it's like, oh yeah, you should come to church. You
Yeah.
should read this book. You should listen to this podcast. But like, let's do something together. Okay, I'll read this. We read this book. We talk about it. We have a
Mhm.
meeting about it every week. So make it very organized for them. Like you're doing things together,
Mhm.
and I like to reread books. I don't know about you, but
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
in
like
the
you have
process
to.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the favorites. But
Yeah.
so read the books, talk about them with them, and take them to do like take them out to have like quality time, outside of the office. I feel like is
Right.
important too, and celebrate them and just lift them up. And that's
Mhm.
what leadership is about. We get better. We strive for excellence. We work on being the best version of ourselves so that we can help build up other people to become
True.
great, right? To become leaders, to be,
Yeah.
to strive toward. That's what a leader. That's what leadership is. It's
Yes.
not for us. It's to help make other people great, excellent.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this one thing I wanted to share with you, because I know you read a lot of books,
Yeah.
and then you probably highlight or circle or star or heart, whatever
Yeah.
whatever quotes that really resonate.
Yeah.
And for a while I would just highlight the quote. I was like, oh, this is going to be such a great quote, and then I'll send it to one of my coaches
Mm-hmm.
or my team.
Yeah.
And there's no response. A lot of times they're just like, whatever, it's just another quote. I can type that in on ChatGPT. And lately now, I'll I'll read the quote, and then I'll apply an experience of why I was able to resonate with that particular quote. And then the response rate just goes through the roof. Everyone's commenting now. And I
Nice.
found the value is not the quote itself. It's the quote, and it's also your own experience, and then it creates an idea for them. Because
Yeah.
now it makes sense. It makes sense that now you relate to that quote. And I just wanted to share that because it's just an epiphany that I had. I was like, people want to know why I thought that quote was cool. That is actually the most valuable thing that you'll share, is not the quote itself.
Exactly.
It's the thought that was created between your experience, the quote, and then whatever you say.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh,
Yep.
isn't that weird?
Changes it. Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. But no, that definitely brings like again purpose and meaning and
Mhm.
yeah, and help. That's a way to inspire, really, is by sharing your story and your thoughts.
Okay. I love it. All right. So, Amber, where do I find you in terms of if I need to get fixed? I'm having pain problems.
Yes.
Where can we find you?
So we have a clinic here in town. It's between Rainbow and Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see clients in clinic. We also do virtual appointments,
Oh, cool.
but we're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If you want to make an appointment, the best way to do that would be you can do a few things. You can go to www.egoscu.com,
Okay.
find therapy, fill out a form, and someone will be in contact with you. You
Mhm.
can also just Google search Egoscu Las Vegas. It'll take you right to our page. Our phone number will be on there for you to be able to just give us a call and make an appointment.
Okay.
So definitely a few different ways to reach out to us.
Yeah, the socials too.
Yeah, we do have socials. Yeah. So,
Okay, I'll put all that.
yeah, you can maybe just say, but yeah, Facebook, Instagram,
All of it.
all of it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll put all the notes down there, guys.
Yeah.
And guys, I want to leave you with one thing they can do. I feel like anytime they listen to a conversation, they have to take an action plan, or they have to do one action. What would that action be after this conversation
One action
that they can do?
Well, I would say the thing you can do to take action immediately toward better posture
Yeah.
is to call us and schedule an appointment to come in for your consultation. But that's the best thing you can do. The other thing is to, if you're a reader,
Yeah.
Pain Free by Pete Egoscue.
Okay.
It's an amazing book.
There you go.
Order that book on Amazon. Start reading it. That is something you can do to just start to learn, right? Knowledge is power. Start to educate yourself more around posture and just why it's so important. And there's also a lot of exercises and tools in that book that can help get you started too. But
well,
those would be my
Amber,
recommendations.
yeah, that was awesome. So get
Thank
that book,
you.
guys. I'll put it on the
Get
show
the
notes
book.
too.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Amber, thank you so much. That was a blast. We'll have to
Thank
get you.
you. Yes, this was so
Yeah.
much fun.
That was awesome.
All right. Thank you, Royce.
Thank you.